Hi, this is CK at CK Education, and today I want to talk about getting to the next level. And I want to talk specifically about people who have begun their careers. If you're in a job, if you're in a professional position, and you've been working there for a while, or maybe you've just begun, but you're trying to get to the next level, and you just can't seem to be doing that. You're doing the best you can. You're working hard. You're doing well in what you do, but you get passed up for promotions, and when it comes time for advancements, then you always seem to get passed up. And I've seen a lot of people throughout my career. If you watch my other videos, you know a little bit about my background. But for the last 12 years, I've been a business owner, and I have a college prep, SAT prep business that I own, and I've been doing that. I love doing it, and I love teaching. So I've been doing that. But before that, for about 12 or 13 years or so, I was an engineer, professional engineer. And so I worked as an engineer, as a consultant. I was in recruiting. I was in management. I was an instructor. At some point, I was also a sales associate very early in my career. I was a recruiter. So I've done a lot of different things, and I worked for very varied companies, big global, companies like the Boeing companies, smaller companies, federal government agencies, city government agencies. I worked in a lot of different capacities, different positions, different roles. And the only reason I tell you that is the things that I'm talking about are based on experience. And if you watch my videos before, you know that I hate it when people talk about things that they have no experience in. I always tell people you don't need to be listening to those people. You should be listening to people who have actually done it, who actually have experience in what they're talking about. So what I'm about to tell you, I've seen this many times in my career. I've seen many people get passed up for promotion. They get very frustrated. They wonder why. It seems to me, from a third person point of view, it's very clear why they're not getting promoted, not why they're not advancing. But to them, they just seem that there's no answer there. They don't understand why they keep getting passed up. And so I will share with you what I think about that, and what I have told some people in my, throughout my career, who wanted to get ahead, but they just weren't getting there. They were just very frustrated, sort of spinning their wheels in the mud, and they just wouldn't. And if you're in that kind of situation, this advice is for you. So very simply put, you have to think bigger to get to the next level. Here's what I mean. Let's say you're an IT professional, and so you're very good at what you do. You're very good at programming. You're very good at coding. You're excellent at what you do. You're a superstar in what you do. But the next level is not coding. The next level is not programming. The next level is not writing code. The next level is managing IT professionals. Let's say that's the next level. My challenge to you would be, you have to think more like the person who is managing you right now. The person who is managing you, who is managing the IT professionals, has a very different mindset, has a very different set of priorities, and has a very different set of skills than you. You are coding every day, 9 hours a day. You're just coding. You're in front of the computer. You're coding. You're writing code. You're checking for errors. You're checking for bugs. But your manager is not necessarily doing that. Your manager is thinking about different things. And if you want to get to that next level, you can't just be good at what you're doing, because everyone else around you is also good at what they're doing, right? You have to think more like your manager. You have to look at what are the things that makes your manager concerned. What are the concerns that your manager has? What are the things that your manager thinks of? What is the vision? What is the goal that your manager has? And you have to think a little bit bigger, a little bit broader, a little bit higher up. You got to think like that person in order for that person to know that you are prepared to take that position or to get promoted to the next level. And if you're always thinking at only your level, and you're only focused on, I'm just really good at what I do, well, that's not enough to get to the next level. You can be really good at what you do, and so are a lot of people. But in order to get to the next level, you have to think like the person who is ahead of you, the person who is at the next level, the person who is above you, the person who is your manager, the person who manages you, or above that. And if you don't think what they think, and if you don't know what they know, and you might say, well, how am I supposed to know what they know? How am I supposed to think the way they think? I mean, very carefully, literally. I mean, you gotta ask those people. You gotta talk with those people. Don't just talk about the things that you do every day. Talk about the things that they do. What kind of concerns do they have? What kind of goals do they have? What kind of problems do they have, and what kind of solutions are they thinking of? Think about that. Read books on things that the next level people read or the next level people know. Ask, what are some of the books? Are there some books that you would recommend? Are there some, what skills do you think are most important? Ask what kind of roles and responsibilities, how are you thinking differently than I am? And you have to build that relationship. You have to get to know people, and you got to think at that level. You have to be aware of those things. You have to be concerned about the things that they're concerned about. Because if you're not, you're only good at what you're doing. And no wonder you're getting passed up year after year after year. This is very important. I'll tell you, when I was a young, right out of college, I went into sales. And many of you, if you watch my videos, you know again about my background. But right out of college, I was an engineering major, but I went into sales. I wanted to go into management, so I went into sales. And they said everybody starts out in sales. We don't recruit managers from the start. We don't hire managers. We hire people whom we think have management potential, but they have to prove themselves on the sales floor. I said, fine, that's great. So I went in there, I learned something very, very important, one of the most important skills that I learned in my career, which was sales. And then, but from day one, I mean, I worked at being a good salesperson, but always in my mind, I was thinking, what does it take to become a manager in this company? What do they think? What do they do? And I always thought about that. I always talked to them. I talked to managers. I talked to people who were ahead of me, people who have more experience, and people who were already there. What skills? What do I need to do? What more do I need to do? I was always aiming for that. I was always doing it. And within a year, I got into management, and I became a store recruiter, and I was a regional, one of the top regional recruiters for the company. And soon afterwards, after about 2 years, I left and I went to another company as an engineer this time. But again, even in that company, I went in as an engineer, but I was always thinking, and I was always talking to people who've been there 10 years, 15 years, and seeing, first of all, if I wanted to be that kind of person, if I wanted to stay in that company for that long, because I wanted to know what it's like if I stay here for 10 or 15 years. And it turned out, I don't want to really stay here because I don't want to be in that kind of position. But I always looked at what is the next thing that I could do? How can I get to the next level? So I jumped another level and went to a different company. And then from there, I learned skills and I gained skills that I didn't have before. And I was looking at how do I get to the next level from here? And then I moved to the East Coast in Washington, D.C., and I got a senior engineering position there. And I worked there. I was in my late 20s at this time. And so I did that. But again, I was looking at how do I get to the next level? How do I do that? So I jumped from there and I went and became an IT project manager for a federal agency as a contractor. And I did that for about a year. Again, I was constantly thinking, how do I get to the next level? Now, next level at that point in my career was, how do I free myself from the shackles of being an employee? I didn't want to be an employee anymore. How do I become my own boss? How do I become an employer? How do I become an entrepreneur? So that was a big step for me, and I learned how to do that, and I took that step, and 12 years later, here I am. But even with this, I started out literally, and I've told this story many times, but I started out, you may or may not know, there are, where I live here, there are a lot of really big Asian grocery stores. And so if you look right outside, like by the entrance, there's all these, some people make these little flyers and where you can rip off the phone numbers and you can call. And I literally started out like that. I literally demoted myself. I was pretty successful engineer. And then I left that world and I made flyers because, you got to start somewhere. And so I did that, and people, would rip off the phone numbers and call me. And I was charging like $20 an hour or something like this to tutor. And people thought I was crazy. Like, what are you doing, man? You're leaving this the cushy engineering job and you're doing this. And I said, well, I don't want to do that anymore. And even when I was doing this, I wasn't thinking that I was going to do that forever. I just thought, well, I'm going to get to next step and next step and next step and next step and next step. And so, I did that. And then so I went from there, and 12 years later, my fees are over $100 an hour now, and I have a waiting list of a year-long waiting list of students, and so I've come a long way since then. But it's because I never thought, and even at this time, I'm thinking, what's the next level? Now, next level is not always more money, but next level just means what is the next level of how do I get to where I want to go? It could be more freedom, it could be more time, it could be more money, it could be growing the business, whatever the thing is. So you got to think, whatever that next level is, how do those people think? Because I'll tell you this, when I was an employee, that kind of thinking was very different than what I think now as an employer. Okay, being an entrepreneur now requires a very different skill set and very different mindset than working for someone else. And I had worked for someone else my entire life up to about 2007 when I left. And I created my own company. I found my way, and I created my own business. But that took a completely different skill set. I had to think differently. I had to learn different things, and that was a totally different shift, a paradigm shift in my thinking. And so what I'm saying to you is, whatever the next level is for you, you got to change your thinking. You have to think bigger. Let me just give you one last example. I had a wonderful boss, when I was working in the city government in DC. And, I remember, even though he was a director of our department, okay, we had a director of our agency, okay? So I worked for the Department of Corrections, and so we had a director who was, I guess he's right under the deputy mayor. I mean, he's pretty high up, but we worked for him, and my boss was a director of our department, okay? So he was 2 levels away from the director of the agency. Okay, but when the director of the agency went to city council meetings or big high level director level agency director level meetings, I always heard, and some of it would be televised, some of it would be on TV. Sometimes he would go before Congress and he would be questioned, and he'd have to update them and so forth. I always saw, and one time I saw him on TV, but my boss, who was not the director, always went to the meetings and the big hearings that my director went to, that our director went to. So he'd always be sitting in the back and he'd be taking notes and he'd be very aware and into what was going on. He was thinking much bigger. He wasn't thinking, well, I'm just the IT director, and so I'm just gonna, I'll just manage my people and just be good with this. He was always thinking, what is a director thinking? What does a director need? What is a director's problem that I could help solve? He was always thinking that. And I was always thinking at my director's level, and what does he need? And what goals does he have? What concerns does he have? So I've had many conversations with him and to try to understand that. And what happened? Well, I left after about 6 years. And then I later heard that my director became the director of the agency for a short time before he retired. And so I wasn't very surprised, because I knew my boss was always thinking at that much bigger level. He was thinking of the entire agency, not just his little department, but the entire agency, and how do you make the whole agency better? People like that rise. You want to get to the next level, you have to think like the person at the next level. You're not thinking big enough. So don't just think, and don't be satisfied with just being good at your level. Think the level above. And if you do that, you'll have much more success, I promise you. That is what the people above you are looking for. And if you never show that, you're always showing that you're only good at what you do. They'll pat you on the back. Maybe they'll give you a little raise. Good job. Work for us for another 15 years. And then you just get passed up every year. But you want to actually get here. You don't want to just stay here. But like I said, you want to get here, you got to think bigger. So I hope that helps, and I hope you will learn that and change and implement that into your life. And if you thought this was helpful, I have over 100 videos. I upload a new video every single day, literally every single day, no excuses, every single day. And so I encourage you to watch many more of those videos. It will help you. If you learn, if you watch, it will change. If you implement it into your life, I promise you it will change your life, because it changed mine. All the things that I'm teaching, I teach from experience. I teach from things that I've learned over the decades, and I'm just sharing with you all for free. And so I hope you will benefit from that. And if you thought this was helpful, I hope you share it with someone else whom you think will be helped as well. There will be a link to the playlist that this video is in, and you can click on that and you can watch all the other videos in this playlist on my channel. But thank you for watching up to this point, and until my next video, I hope you stay well.